Well, next, let's talk about building tables. Sounds pretty simple and straightforward, right? A factory can turn out hundreds in a day. Well, Ed Jones met a North Dakota native who doesn't just make most tables. In fact, he has a method that involves lots of sawdust and a little whiskey.
Donnie Fallgater's story began like many in Nashville.
Moved here in 2002 to do music.
And like many in Nashville, he found the need to supplement his income. Thankfully, Donnie's a man of many talents and had skills to fall back on.
My dad has a shop in North Dakota, and so I would weld with him. Not a lot of woodworking until a few years ago.
That's when necessity became the mother of invention. Actually, it was his wife's necessity. You see, she wanted a table.
The wife wanted this really simple end table that was $1,000, and it was a chunk of wood on some hairpin legs.
Donnie had misgivings about the impending purchase.
I said, hell no. I'll chop a piece of wood down and put on hairpins for you. And so we did that. We put it on Instagram, just that I made her this table, and that's kind of how it started. I just really became enthralled with woodworking. My favorite part of the woodworking, I think, is just doing something with my hands and getting a creative outlet that's also my livelihood.
Donnie soon discovered that his newfound passion had something in common with his music.
Kind of mirrored songwriting for me. It's, taking something and making it into something that it wasn't before, or starting with a blank page, and all of a sudden you have this cool masterpiece, and then you don't want to let it go, which has been the hard part. So usually I'll make something, it's all custom order, so it all has to go.
And when Donnie needs a new palette for his next custom-made masterpiece, he doesn't just run down to the lumber yard. The process is much more personal. He uses reclaimed lumber or downed trees. He's searching for more than a piece of wood. He wants a piece of history.
I just love finding, something that has history, like say this, the biggest sugar maple in Tennessee, that someone's gonna have that in their hotel or in their house, and they'll never not have a story sitting around it. It's not like, oh yeah, we got that slab from a guy. It's gonna be like, oh, it was the biggest sugar maple in all of Tennessee. Because it's such a cool place to gather around a dining table. And if the dining table can actually be, some kind of speak piece like that where, oh, speaking of, while we're all here, you're all sitting around a piece of history. I just would love everything to be that, or at least an heirloom. Not that it has to be a piece from a tree that was in your yard, but something that's built well, has a story, so you want to pass it down to your kids.
The style of table can also make it a conversation piece. Take, for instance, this current craze.
Right now, people love the river tables, or just epoxy in it if it's not a river table. People have used epoxy for a long time just to fill knot holes or, little voids in the wood. Now people love having half the table epoxy, and we might get to where we're just doing an epoxy top with certain things inlaid.
But Donnie's obsession is more organic, and he's pretty picky about the wood he uses.
So this maple I got from a buddy, I think out of Michigan. It's gonna have some crazy curl. You've seen like the backs of acoustic guitars that have all that curl in it. So this whole thing's gonna be that, but pretty piece. I save all of this barn wood because this barn oak is kind of what started Sawdust and Whiskey. It was interior wall pieces, so it's in great shape. And a lot of it still has, you can see all that bark on it. This walnut slab, some people had cut down after a storm, and we're letting that air dry. But there's a lot of walnut trees here. And if a storm ever brings one down and someone says, hey, can you come get this walnut tree? Dang right.
Donnie does most of the work himself, but as you can tell, some of these pieces make it impossible to be a one-man band.
I have a few friends, musician buddies, that when they have some downtime, they'll come hang out in the shop. And so yeah, a lot of it's me, but friends have helped out, through a lot of projects.
And after a hard day's work, those friends can develop quite a thirst, which is what led to the company name.
We didn't have a name for it. I was just branding everything with an F for my last name, and we were like, well, we should do something else. And we found ourselves, after finishing like a neat piece and delivering it, we had tried different whiskey. So we just said, hey, let's call it Sawdust and Whiskey. We toast and try a different whiskey after we finish a piece that we're proud of. To the end of a good work day.
As he looks toward the future, Donnie uses the lessons of his musical past as a compass for his business.
It's such a huge spectrum. You're either crazy broke, it seems like, or you're making a ton of money. There's not like a lot of middle ground in, in the life of a musician. For the future of Sawdust and Whiskey, I would love to help all my buddies too that, just need a few hours a week to pay their rent or whatever. Have a big enough operation where we could just help as many people as possible. Sawdust and Whiskey.